criteria that you use to decide when to get the authorities involved in an aggressive response from a complainant?
So that's really going to come down to the threat of violence, right? And the credibility of a threat. You might have someone who makes a comment about, like, you guys are going to pay for this, right? Meaning, let's just say the example is a responding party, and these allegations then are brought forward, and maybe the responding party gets a sense that things are not going their way, and they're like, you know what, to the extent that this person made the complaint, or maybe the investigator is there pursuing it and accepting the allegations, that he just makes the comment, look, you guys are gonna pay for this. Well, there isn't that threat in there of physical violence or something very overt or explicit in there that the authorities, the police can really take action on in that moment. There isn't the threat of an imminent crime being committed, but certainly it would be something that you would take note of, and you want to and you would mention it. Hey, look, this threat was made, but I think you're looking for something more specific or more definite than that, where someone's saying, hey, look, if I lose my job, there's going to be consequences here. And, if I'm gone, other people are going to be gone too. Well, what does that mean, right? And a lot of this is contextual, right? If you make that comment, at a workplace in the United States, where maybe in that city or in that state there's already been some examples of gun violence, then that comment is going to take on a whole different meaning for folks in that context than it would in a different context, right, where they have a very different culture. So that discretion in terms of when to bring in the authorities, or it's not so much when to bring in the authorities, but it's more, are the authorities going to do something about it when you do file a complaint? I think anytime you subjectively feel that you are being threatened with physical violence, that would be something that you definitely want to alert the authorities to, and then it's definitely a situation where you might then want to bring in a consultant where they can do a risk assessment in that situation to figure out what is the threat of harm or actual harm, and then the authorities are brought in and they'll have their own framework that they will apply to determine at what point do they then take steps to address the situation. They might come in on something that's on the lower end of the scale, and I've had cases where the police department would have a word with the party that made the comment to make them aware that this is something that potentially crosses into a criminal liability here, and just let the person be aware that the police are live to their situation, and this isn't behavior that is being ignored, and that is often, in my experience, has been an effective deterrent to deterring that behavior from escalating. But a lot of this really comes down to a judgment call, and I would say it wouldn't be something. This isn't normal, right? That you would get threats regarding your physical safety. So anytime that there is that threat, then you want to escalate it. Maybe bring it to the attention of the relevant authorities, but then also consider having a consultant come in to do a risk assessment, so that internally, even if this doesn't cross into a situation that the police are going to pursue, at least from the employer's perspective, you can take the steps you need to protect your staff.